Let's learn to use the Print Size Assistant. We'll begin by opening 3ds Max, then opening a file. Click on the Application button, Open, navigate to the Chapter 13 subdirectory, open the file Chapter 13 Panorama01.max. We're not actually going to print this right now, but we'll use this file as part of this chapter. Two pieces of information you need to know in order to use the Print Size Assistant for calculating the resolution of images for print. You need to know the DPI rating of the image that you're going to be using for printing. Again, remember, this is not the resolution of the actual printhead itself. It's the pixels per inch of the image that's going to be fed to the printer. We also need to know the size of the printed end result. Go ahead and make sure the camera viewport is active, and we'll set this up as if we're going to render for a print job. Click the Rendering menu and select the Print Size Assistant from the Rendering dropdown. This opens up the Print Size Wizard dialog box. This interface allows us to choose the paper size, so let's take a look at what we can select from. We have some standard sizes like 8.5 by 11. There are European and US standard sizes. From the drop-down list, select the B size. So we'll print on a 17-inch by 11-inch sheet of paper. Then we need to choose the DPI rating that we've gotten from the printer who will be running the print job. Are we going to deliver them a 72 DPI image or a 300 DPI image? Currently it's set to 200 DPI. We can enter any value we want, and remember, it's important, don't look at the manufacturer's specs for resolution of the printer. There are printers that have a resolution of 2400 dots per inch, and some are higher. Now, you wouldn't want to type in 2400 DPI for this print job. That would be a little overkill because most printers don't print one dot on the paper for every dot in the image. An example of why you would want to type in the value is if you're printing for a billboard size image, like the outdoor advertising billboard you see on the highway. Those are usually created around 12 DPI. Again, keep in mind the viewing distance we discussed earlier. We're going to assume that our printer requires 150 DPI resolution for the particular image that they're going to be using. Go ahead and click the 150 DPI button. This will then calculate the resolution to be 2550 by 1650 pixels. It also allows us to pick a file. Click the File button. This should bring you to the top level of our current project folder. Since we're not actually going to go and render this, we don't need to type in a name. But you'll notice that if we use the Print Size Assistant to render the scene, we can only render to TIFF files. This is the preferred file format for most professional printing companies. Go ahead and click Cancel on the dialog. We have two options in this dialog to render. We can either render to the file that we just specified, again by clicking the File button and naming a file somewhere on our hard drive, and then clicking the Render button at the bottom right of the dialog. Or, if you want to have a little bit more flexibility in how you render the image, you can click on the Render Setup option. Go ahead and click on the Render Setup option. That opens the Render Setup dialog, and you'll notice in the Output Size area that the width and height values have been entered for us. We can then use this dialog to configure the renderer and save the file to a type other than a TIFF file. This is a very good tool to start with if you're going out to print resolution and are not exactly sure what size image you should render.